All right, so we're gonna be starting off with some dynamic hip swings. So for this, you wanna stand close to a wall and you wanna kick your leg left and right like a windshield wiper. This is gonna open up your hips and stretch out your groin. You wanna make sure you do both sides. Start off with small kicks and then work your way higher. So now we're gonna do a squat with a groin stretch. So we're gonna squat wide stance with our knees pointed outward, and then we're going to use our hands to press outward on our knees. This is going to add extra pressure and an extra stretch to the groin. You should feel it stretching between your legs, and then you're going to go side to side. As you go side to side, you want to lift your toe up to the sky, stretching out your hamstrings. You will feel a pull and a stretch coming down your hamstring as you move side to side while rotating your toe upward. That's going to be stretching out your hamstring. And then we're going to move to the chest and to the shoulders. So we're going to use a wall, and we are going to stretch out our pectoral muscle as well as the front deltoid. So you just want to place your hand on the wall and then rotate your shoulder and use the wall as an assistance to keep your hand steady while you rotate your body, allowing a stretch onto the pectoral and to the shoulder. Now we want to stretch out our lats as well as open up our shoulders so that we're able to get our hands straight up above our ears. Next, we're going to do some strict form lateral shoulder presses. Same motion that you would do with weights, but we're going to do it with body weight to warm up the shoulders and work on the mobility. We're going to start off the wall, perform a few reps, and then get on the wall for even more assistance and to make sure that we're staying strict on form. We're going to have our back against the wall, elbows against the wall, hands against the wall, and we're going to perform this exact same motion, trying to keep our shoulders, our elbows, and our wrist against the wall. If this is hard for you to perform, it means that you lack shoulder mobility, and you're going to want to focus on increasing the mobility in your shoulders and flexibility in your shoulders as well. Next, we're going to get into some rotator cuff movements. So we're going to keep our elbows pinned to the wall at a 90-degree angle, and then we're going to begin rotating. As you rotate, you want to keep your elbows strict in one spot. You're going to notice that your elbow is going to naturally want to move as you rotate. Keep it pinned in one spot and rotate what you can. Don't hyperextend. Take your time. Don't try to go all the way down as you see me doing. Start off with 90 degrees and work your way down to full rotation where your hand touches the wall. All right, next we're going to be opening up the hamstring. So what we're going to do is we're going to elevate our toe. This is going to allow for a deeper stretch and connection along the hamstring all the way down to the ankle. So we're going to place our toe on the wall. The higher you place your toe on the wall, the more it's going to stretch out your calf and your ankle. So take your time with how high you're placing it. If you don't feel a good stretch, place your toe even higher. And then you're going to hinge at the hips. And this is going to activate your hamstrings, and you're going to feel your hamstrings stretching. It's a really good one of my favorites. Especially good for opening up the ankles and allowing for a deeper stretch along the ankle for ankle mobility, which is important for your squatting and your leg days. So we're going to do some hip opening exercises by stretching the hip. So we're going to step our right foot over our left, putting weight onto our left hip. Then we're going to shift our hip to the left. You should feel a good stretch right on your hip, on the outer region of your hip. We're going to add more pressure just until it feels like it's a good stretch. Don't add too much pressure. And then we're going to do the front of the hip. So now we're going to step our right foot forward. And what we're going to do is we're going to put our weight down on the front of our hip. While shifting the hip forward, you should feel a nice stretch right on the front of your hip. Now we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to switch sides. So now our left foot is going to go over our right foot, and we're going to be putting our weight shifted over to the right hip while shifting our hips to the right. Keep your body straight. Again, we're going to step our left foot over our right foot, shift our hips to the right, stretching out our right hip. keeping our body straight. You should feel a nice little stretch onto your hip, and then you want to do this for both sides. Next is going to be the front hip. To the front of the hips and do the same thing. So we're going to step our left foot forward, putting weight forward and down onto our hip. You will feel a nice little stretch and pull into the hip. I like to give it a little rock back and forth, so add some dynamic movement into there. And then we're going to get into the pigeon stretch. The pigeon stretch is going to help open up our hips, our glutes, and it's just a really good stretch just to get your legs really loose before leg day and get your hips opened up. You want to put the weight down onto the glute and onto the hip, as well as switching up the weight distribution, doing a little bit of spinal rotation and getting a little bit more flexion on the hip. And then we're going to get into the downward dog, transfer into the overflow push-up. So this downward dog is going to open up our shoulders, stretch out our lats, and then we're going to overflow to push-up. You want to think about the overflow as it being a worm flowing from the top of your butt to the top of your back with a spinal curve, back into the downward dog, overflow into the full plank. Then we're going to get into some quad stretching to release some of the tension from our quads before we get into our jumping lunges. Jumping lunges to squat. This is going to warm up our legs and get us ready for this leg day to start getting us warm. Now we're going to work in some leg raises. This is going to warm up the hip. Now that we've got it stretched out, we're doing some dynamic movement, getting it warmed up, and we're going to get into this leg day. Your hip may feel a little bit tight after doing the knee raises, so do another set of the hip stretching. Put your right foot over your left, lean over to the side, and do the other side as well, just to get another stretch onto your hips. And then I'd also finish off with a set of butterflies, just to ensure that your hips are fully stretched out and you're ready to go.